Hello and welcome to another map editor tutorial for American Truck Simulator. This is part 2 of our tutorial series where we start talking about the actual basics and not just saving and opening, but actually getting used to the editor and all its options and goodies. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so to begin our little tutorial here, just show you how the map editor usually loads. Sometimes you might get a couple different screens here. The one being the content browser. We're just going to go ahead and hide that for now. We'll explain it a little bit later. And if you also get this, it's probably because you open an existing map and there might be some issues. But for now, again, we're just going to close it off. So we have this black screen. So the first thing you're going to want to do probably is go to a different section of the map because it might load in a blank area. So we're going to use a go to command, and in this case I'm going to go to Douglas, just one of the recent areas that Eblin worked on for his map. And now I'm moving the mouse, so we are in the 3D view, and if you can't move around like this, you may be in the top down view. To toggle between the top down and this view, you press the C key. C as in cats. Everybody likes cats, unless you don't, which in that case you don't. Cool. So this is a top down view. Now you could scroll with the mouse scroll wheel, scroll in to zoom in, or you could also use the page up and page down buttons on your keyboard. That's actually it could be a little faster if you hold it. So there we go. Or page down to zoom in, right? That could be a little faster. And to move around in this view, you hold the right mouse button, and it's like you're holding the terrain and you're moving around, like panning, right? So to move to the right, you move the mouse to the left, right? And that's pretty much what you could do here. We'll explain more what you could do here in a bit. We'll go back to this to the other view, our little 3D view here, pressing the C key again on the keyboard. That's C for cat. Now in this view, you move around with the mouse, and you move around in space with the WASD keys, just like in your average video game. If you're going a little too fast, you could move the scroll wheel to change the speed. So there I'm going a little slower and pushing back, and the slowest you could go is this speed. So you see us moving, right? Or you could go super fast to the point where you have no clue what you're doing. Well, actually, I still have a clue. I think it still is going fast. I'm not sure. I think the speed limit is unlimited on this, so be careful. But okay, let's slow down. Oh no, oh boy. Slow down. All right, there we go. Yeah, it could be a little cumbersome sometime, but hey, there it is. Oh, we went so fast we're in Mexico now. Interesting. All right, so that is how to move around there. Now, if you'll notice, we don't see any special items on here. It's just the map. There are a few little details, the lines in the background, but you can't really do anything in this view. This is the moving view, what we're just going to call the move view. To start getting into edit mode, you need to press the space key on your keyboard, and that pops up all of these icons. Now you can no longer move with WASD. As a matter of fact, WASD might have will trigger some other things here. To move around in this view, you can hold the right-click mouse button. You can move around, but you can't actually pan. So if you want to go somewhere else, you gotta again press the space key and then WASD to move around. Go back into edit mode, space key, there we go. You can zoom in and out in this view with the mouse wheel, and you could just pan around, but you can't actually move. So just keep that in mind. If you go back to the top-down view, you're always in edit mode here, and you could always move with holding the right mouse button, so that should be fine. So let's go back to this view here. And let's start getting into the actual options that you have here. So on top here, you have, of course, the typical file, save as, and all that. We covered a little bit of saving on our first English video. There are a couple options here, which I don't want to get too much into details. I'm just going to go over the basics here, all in due time. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the ribbon here. Now there are these options, save, export. The exports for like if you're exporting the 3D model of the map. But we're going to talk about edit mode in this case. So the first edit mode is new item. You could press this. You'll get this option here, which this is the options for the new item that we're placing. Or I'm going to get out of this. So I'm going to press escape. Or you could press the E key, E as in Elliot, and that brings that up. You could also see these keys up here, right? So this will tell you what you're doing. Now, in the new option, you have the option to select what kind of item. There are multiple kinds of items, and the items are up here, item type. First one being the road, which is also triggered with the 1 key. You could press the other keys and trigger different kinds of item types. But in this case, we're going to be talking about the road. So with the road, you could place new roads. Simply put, left click on one end. You see the little line. Click again, and there you go. There's one road. The road is dependent on the one that's on here. There are different road types here. I'm going to undo that real quick. And you could select multiple kinds. Most of the roads that you should be using in here are the ones that say US. This is, of course, specific to ATS. I'm not sure for ETS. The ones that say like CA, for example, or say something different, you should avoid. Those are like the old road networks that were introduced for when the ATS was first built for California and Nevada. These highway ones as well. These MX ones are the ones from Mega Resources that we have been working on for Mexico. That's something that's being developed. But really the ones you should be looking at are these US ones for the most part. The rail ones are fine as well. The Oregon forest trails are good too. Just avoid the ones on top, the CA and the highway. And the textures are pretty different too. So for example, in US 1-1, that's just one lane each way. So you could kind of tell here, there's one lane on each side, right? So you could kind of get with the name, and I'll go over these in a different video. Now, in all of these options, you will always see these two buttons. These two buttons are important. So the magnifying glass is the Show in Content Browser option. So if you click that, it opens up the content browser, and here we go. If this is the first time you've opened the editor, there might be a chance that this, where it says type here, it'll be in all. You might want to select the kind of item type that you're looking at, so it'll keep to that always. In this case, it's a road, so we'll click that, and here we are. Right here are all the different roads. You can see their pictures, and I'll just move this to the side a little bit. And you got another preview there of what it looks like. Though it could be a little buggy sometimes, admittedly, unfortunately. Let's go to the SCS ones. So this will show you the basic style of it, right? And you could change the size of the little image there, make it a little bigger. You could change the sorting by name or date, or you could also, for example, if I do US, or you know what, let's do 3-1-3, which is specifically a 3-lane avenue on each side with the middle turning lane. It'll give you all the options there, right? So that's useful. I'm not going to go too much into details on this. If you have selected one that you want to use, let's see, let's do this 4-4 freeway. It's not enough to just select it. You need to then go back here and use this button, which is select from content browser, and there we go, it gets replaced. So now if I go back in and actually draw it, there we go. Oops. So I'm going to move this real quick. I'll teach you moving in a bit, but there's a road, right? Now, it could look different. That's because of properties and all that, but I'm not going to go into it right now. Next in our item type is, I'm going to go through each item type real quick, because I don't want to take it too much time on this. 2 is the prefab. I'm pressing 2 on the keyboard. Prefabs are for like intersections and even like the warehouses you could take deliveries to. Are also in here, gas stations, that sort of stuff. So those get built in. So for example, this is a road network right here. This is the road up here. But if I go over here to this is a prefab, right? So any intersection, any change in the road type would be a prefab. So just keep that in mind. 3 on the keyboard, pressing 3 gives us buildings. Buildings are the complete opposite of what you think of. They are not buildings. They are actual, like, lengthwise networks or lengthwise models. So for example, let me, this is a good one. US Jersey barrier. So if I click here, you see, it's a line network, basically. You could, select that and move it around and all that jazz, right? So there it is. I was going to say something else about it. So it's not an actual building. It is a line item there. One thing I do want to make sure to let you know is that there is another kind of network like this now called the curve model, which I'll go into a little later. There's different options for it. So the buildings are not so common anymore, but they're still there. There's a lot of options. So you have that, right? And again, I'm just going through the ones here. Up here, they're in alphabetical order, but I'm going in the way that they are in your keyboard. So again, pressing the E key to, create new item. We're going to click 4 now. 4 are the models. Now these are the actual, like the houses, the buildings, trees, and all that stuff, right? So, you that's what you have there. And maybe I should have mentioned this before. When I'm trying to place a new item, it places it on the ground. That's because I have active these snaps up here. So I have the snap to nodes, snap to vertices. I don't have the grid on. Usually, I don't really see too much of a use for it for the most part. And snap to ground. So that's what I'm using to make sure it does. Because if you don't have the snap to ground, you see how it won't even appear. I don't even know where to place it if I press, if I left click, right? So have that on, and there you go. If you don't, you could put it on the nodes. These are the nodes here, right? That's this. It's useful for roads and stuff. But let's keep the snap to ground on for this, right? All right, so those are the models. Again, clicking this button brings up the content browser, and you can select any model you want. There are tons of models. I think the biggest hurdle to this thing is knowing what models exist, to be honest. 5 on the keyboard, open sign items. Now, these are all the different signs that you could place. If you notice that they're snapping to the direction of the road, that's because this follow road direction is on. So on top, the legacy sign are the ones that are static. You can't edit these. These are just, a sign, and that's all you could do. And if I'm pressing E, by the way, just to get back into this. And if you go down here to the editable sign, these are the ones you could actually change what they say. So for example, let's see, there's this. Cool. So this is one of the newer sign models from Colorado. You could actually edit this. So just let you know. 6 will be Bezier patch. I press 6, and by clicking there, we get this. It's a terrain. It's a little square. You could play around with it. We'll touch upon Bezier patches later. 7 is a cut plane. Now, cut planes are something to improve your make it so it's not so laggy in some parts. Like, you basically hide items. Like, so here you see how there's an empty space, but there's all these things here. This yellow line here, that is a cut plane. So basically, from here, you can't see across that hill. So there's no point in loading what's back there. Now, if I move over here, now it's loaded, right? And there are also things hidden over there because you can't see it when you're here and you're driving. Well, you're not supposed to. I think you might not be able to drive through here, so that's probably why. So again, you move over here, it's all hidden. So that's what cut planes are for. Go back to the E button. You'll see it, by the way, highlighted here. Press 8. Mover. So mover is, if you click on left click, there's another line. Mover, like if you want to put something that moves, like pedestrians or, let me see if I can find one that's, oh, a balloon. There we go. So you could kind of change it so it starts moving around and that kind of stuff. But again, that's for another video. And last but not least, we have category 9 on the keyboard, which is terrain. So this is a little different to Bezier patches. This also works like a line, like the buildings, for example. And you could, place terrains, edit them, and all that kind of stuff. So here they are, right? So let me Control Z, and that undoes that. Now, there are still more item types. There are quite a few up here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but those are like some of the more used ones. The other one that we use a lot, and there's no actual keyboard shortcut as far as I know, is the curve model. Now, I mentioned this earlier. This is a lot like the building model. So there's the curve model, which is like a railing, kind of. I'm going to bring up a building. So I'm going to place it similarly. So there we go. And I'm going to open its properties. So properties is, you know what? I honestly forget what it is up here because there it is, item properties. You could also use it with the P key on your keyboard, P for Peter. So hit the P key, and if you open this, you get your actual, the model. Some will have some specific styles as here in the look option, but that's about it. You get your render distance here. This is in meters, by the way, and that's about it. But if you click here, which by the way, I'm gonna select all of these, hit the P key. There we go. We get more options, so you could actually customize this a lot more. This specific model doesn't really have much to its styles, but for example, back here, that's the end. If we put none, that's how that ends up. So you can see how some models will have more options to this. So the curve definitely has much more to it. I know SES has been moving towards it much more than buildings, so it's definitely worth looking into it, right? So that's going to be the item types that we're going to look at. There are definitely more, but again, I don't want to touch too much on it. Let's look a little more into the basics. So we covered the properties option. Each item type has different kinds of properties, if you probably noticed. So if I hit the red node here, this will bring up the item properties for this road. And there's just a ton that you could do on here. Again, we're not going to look into that right now. So let's go ahead and look into the move option. So that's right here, move item, or the M key in your keyboard. M for, I don't know, money. The M key will let you move items around. If you click on a node, you get this. This is known as the Gizmo. And this is pretty common on pretty much any 3D modeling program. You have 3-axis. If you click on this, you move it around on this axis. If you click on this one, that one, and of course the green one, up and down, right? I'm holding the left mouse button, by the way. I'm controlling Z, and there's how it was. If you don't use these options, you can just move it around as you please. So this is me just moving it both, lateral and forward axis, right? X and I don't know what the game considers, but I'm just going to call it X and Y. So that's that. You could also change the way the Gizmo works. So up here, you have this little option, Gizmo. If you click global, that it'll snap to the global axis. So let me see. I think this will be better if I click something different. So let me see this one right here. So if I go back to local, this aligns with the road, right? So this red line is perfectly perpendicular to the road. But if I click on global, now it fits the global, that's north. That way would be east, right? So that's what that is. I hope that explains a little bit. View aligns it to the way I'm looking. So if I move around, that pans to my view. And curve and circle are brand new for 1.40. And I'm not going to go into those. That's going to be something for roads when we go over that video. So that's that. Usually we keep it to local, to be honest. It's probably the most useful one. And that's moving. You can also go to the top-down view with the C key again and move that way. It's actually a little easier sometimes to move things with this, like roads and such. So it shows you that. And let's go back to the other view. And that's pretty much the move view. Next is scale. Scale is with S. S for scale, literally. This will allow you to change the scale of items. Not every item is scalable. Models are scalable. Signs are not. I believe buildings are scalable in a way, but not with the scale option. So really, it's the models that are scalable. So like buildings and stuff like that. These light blue nodes. So if I press the scale button, I hold it here. I'm making it bigger or smaller. You could also hold it on these axes here and scale it on one side. Like that, right? You can also scale with the node properties. So if I go press the P for properties, you could scale it here. You see scale. This was the way you scaled it before. If you want to invert something, you could actually do -1. I'll leave it the way it was. -1.97 and -1, and that inverts the model. Actually, it kind of works. It's kind of useful. So that's that. Pretty simple. It was that option was introduced not too long ago. Next is the delete by pressing the D key, D for delete. If you have the delete option activated, you hit on the red node, that deletes the node. That's simple. You can Control Z, and there you go. It's worth mentioning, by the way, that you can select multiple items by press and hold the left mouse button, and you have this little option here. But the delete will not work that way. It'll only delete one item at a time. You can move multiple items. So if I press the M key and I select various, that's me moving a lot of things. But if you want to delete multiple items at a time, you go to the top-down view with the C key, C for cat, and we again select multiple items. And instead of hitting the D for delete key, you literally hit the delete key on your keyboard, like not D, like the actual delete key that's below insert, and that gets rid of all of that. So only on the top-down view. Press Control Z there. All right, so that's deleting. Item properties we talked about briefly. There's also node properties. So node properties are very different to item properties. So I have the N key, N for node. And if I open node properties on a building, there's not much here besides actual position. The rotation, you could change it here. So if I change this to, I don't know, to 10, you see that? 100, it changes it. Pitch, that's what that does. And roll, that's what that does. There's easier ways to rotate. This is more technical for like roads and stuff like that. And see, and it's pretty much the same for pretty much any node, right? Again, that'll be a subject for another video. Play start I've never actually used, I admit. So I'm not too sure where these are used. Height, I mean, I'm honestly not sure. I'm going over the ones that I know for the most part. Now, these three here are the rotate. I've never used them here, to be honest. I just pressed the R key, and that helps us rotate. So let's select the building here, a model. And if you hover over the green circle here, that rotates on that axis. This will rotate like that, and the red one will rotate like that. Or you could just select the item and it'll kind of rotate randomly. I don't like doing that personally. If you do this on roads, it's a little trickier. That's not exactly going to work. If you do it vertically, it works. Actually, this one has that activated. So this one, if you do it like this, oh, Well, Evan did some magical trickery here, so let's try let's try to select something a little more normal. Here, let's do rotate here. Well, that kind of works, but I think it's because that it's on a model. This one, sorry, not on a model, on a prefab. There we go. That's not working. So the reason that's not working is because a lot of these nodes, like for roads, you need to have on node properties, you need to have the free rotation activated, and that will actually let us rotate like that. Otherwise, it'll rotate to whatever it thinks is correct. You could also change that with the Alt X key if you want to activate the free rotation. So I'm selecting it, Alt X. You see how it removes that right there? That's that. Okay. And that is pretty much, most of the stuff to actually build things. What we have left is, detailing works and all that kind of stuff. I don't really want to go too much into it into this video. So I think I'm gonna stop it there. Hope you got something out of the video. If you have any comments or questions, please let us know on the comment section, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.